Welcome to Michigan Sports Media Network. Today you're with Jay Sweet, our host, and we have James Gullett, our Red Wings lead reporter, and Brad Thompson, our Tigers lead reporter, with us today. But with that being said, we will pass it to James Gullett, our top Red Wings insider.
Thanks, Jay. Hey, Hockey Town. I'm honored and privileged to be covering this historic franchise for this wonderful city. They don't call it Hockey Town for no reason.
Can't hear you,
Without
James.
further ado, I'll get right into the recap of the most recent roster move that they made that might have a significant impact on this upcoming free agency and trade deadline this upcoming week. Uh, Recently, the Wings have traded Valley Uso to the Anaheim Ducks for just future considerations. They're just overall cutting some of their goalie depth, if you can even call it that, to be honest, and freeing up about 3.6 million in cap space, which hopefully will be used to add either a top four defenseman or just clever ways that you can try to manipulate the cap and just add overall depth. Fourth line scorer would be nice. I mean, I think all teams in the league would say that's nice. Um, but this year, Uso had, or I should say, going back, Uso had some nice games and he had a decent stint with the Wings as a whole, but this year he just wasn't cutting it. Uh, he's 30, so he's not going to improve. He kind of is what he is at this point. In his 9 appearances this year, he's only been 1-5-2. So, I mean, with the 2 overtime losses, overall win-loss of 1-7, he's just not making that impact where we need it most. Some of that, I will say, is on the defense in front of him, but Talbot and Alex Line have the same defenders in front of them, and they are doing more of that. Uso has allowed almost 4 goals a game at 3.69 and has only a save percentage of 86.6. So he's just overall not getting it done. Even once traded to Anaheim, he's now in their minor league system. He is not up on the main roster. So I don't see him having much of an impact on that. I don't see us getting much in the future considerations, if anything. It might strictly be a cap dump. And I'm all for that with, like I said, his production overall has not been there this year. I'm hoping that we can try to add a much needed defender, as I was talking about, other than Sider and even Johansson. Even after he got off to a pretty hot start, his first few games as I'd still call him a rookie. We don't have many good defenders in Detroit. Justin Hall has not been cutting it. Ben Sherratt has not been cutting it, in my opinion. And I know some people will say otherwise on that, but we, as the Wings, need defensemen almost even worse than a goalie because you can put prime Dominik Hasek behind these linemen, and there's going to be breakaways and defensive miscues, and the goalie can only do so much. So, with that being said, it we'll see how that move turns out in the future, but I don't really think that could have negative side effects. This was the last year of his deal. There's no dead cap or anything like that coming off. Um, but at least it gives us some flexibility moving forward. And like I said, Friday's the trade deadline, so hopefully we can make a move by then. But with the recent 2 losses to Columbus here, not only did we lose the number 1 wild card spot because now we're sitting in that number 2 spot. Um, I don't know if our current positioning will make Steve Yzerman buy or potentially stand pat at the deadline. Um, if they could have pulled out that outdoor game on Saturday, I think we would be buyers and we would be tipping over that fence line of, on the cusp of can we or can't we. Um, but that comes down to probably the main talking point, and I'm sure any Red Wings fan watching this is going to want to talk about, or is already saying just get on with it, is that mid-tie stick call on Saturday night, because that would be, if anyone is not a hockey fan watching this, that would be like the equivalency of the Kelvin Johnson no catch against Chicago. Like it is something that by rule and just looking at it with your eyes, you don't even per se need insight. Just you can just watch the play and know you shouldn't be able to do that. The national announcers, because it was an outdoor game, it was not Bally Sport or FanDuel Sports Network. It was not the hometown guys. It was not Mickey Redmond and Ken Daniels. It was the national uh, announcers for ESPN. Even they kind of were like, "What are they doing?" Um, Danforth on the Columbus Blue Jackets literally just hit Simon Edvinsson in the face with his stick and went around him and somehow got his own rebound and scored what ended up being the game-winning goal with about 2.5 minutes left in the third period. And if it was called properly, at least in my opinion, because I mean they didn't call it, um, it was a tie game 3-3 at that point. That would have given the Wings one of the best power plays in the league. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they're the third best power play right now. A 2-minute advantage with 2.5 minutes to go in the game. And going into the game, they were tied with Columbus, dead even on points, dead even on games remaining. They don't have a game in hand on each other, or vice versa. So this game was absolutely pivotal, and it's not make or break, but the Wings do have statistically the toughest remaining schedule of the year. So it's not going to get any easier. So to have something go against you that is out of your control is obviously not great. And I do know that Coach McClellan said, it shouldn't leave it in the hands of one play. Could have done 20, 30, 40 things different in different periods, different time spans that would have made that play a non-factor. And all that is true technically, but in the heat of the moment, right then and there, it was not the I would just say not the best call, and I'll just leave it at that. Um, Before I go on too much of a tangent. Um, Lastly, the next game is today at 7. Probably past due by the time this airs. We'll play Carolina, who got off to an extremely hot start to the season. They were, I want to say, 10-2 their first 12 games, and if I'm not mistaken, they were 14-4 their first 18 games. However, we're playing them now, not then, and they are currently on a 3-6 streak their last 9 games played. So they are cold themselves right now. So if we can catch them at a great time, hopefully, and they should be, the Red Wings will be motivated from their lack of luck. And maybe they can start using this as a momentum, kind of like um, the Lions after they got beat by, oh, I'm spacing.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, thank you. And that, they kind of I don't want to quite say took them for granted, but they used that to catapult them, motivate them, and then they just went on a tear after that. So I'm hoping the Wings can use that as the motivational game. Overall, since the coaching change, the team has looked almost night and day difference. McClellan's been a heck of a coach for us. So hopefully we can win tonight, get everything back on track, and then with the added cap space that we mentioned before, hopefully a little bit of momentum building up into the trade deadline. Hopefully we just make one or two moves. I don't think anything sizable, but still just something in the depths that will help the team out with some fresh legs, get a more even rotation. I know Sutter is amazing, but I don't know if playing 25, 26 minutes a night is sustainable, especially doing a playoff run and all that as well. Um, but we will see what happens as it happens. And
Thanks, James. I appreciate the insight, and now we will open this to a panel discussion. Brad, the floor is yours.
To the Wings, I really think that this is going to speak volumes for Stevie Eiserman. He is going to plain and simple say, if he's a buyer at the deadline, then he thinks they got a shot. Now, I'm not saying shot all the way to the cup, but this team going into this season was expected to make the playoffs. Clearly, they're in contention to do so. Clearly, they need not just one but two defensemen to do so. I think it's important to get in because I think players like a Raymond and a Larkin and a Sider, they need to have that taste. It is past due that they've gotten a taste of the playoffs now. If they get in the first round, they go out 4-0, then they do. But I think if he doesn't, boy, he's going to be on the hot seat next year. If he's just going to stand pat and say, okay, we're going to roll the dice, and let's say they don't make it. Now, they were one game last year out of not making it. We all know that. They don't make it this year. I don't see. This is why when you bring the hometown hero in, the Joe Dumars who did win it, who did win championship for us, but the way he exited is just, dang, man. And an Alan Trammell, even though Trammell came back, it's these guys just lose their luster. And I don't think Eiserman would, but it's still going to be something that we don't forget. He came back and he didn't get it done, and he got it done in Tampa. Why couldn't he get it done here? I think it's an indictment on him. He has not addressed the defensive situation at all. And with the goalies, like you said, goalie's the last line of defense. Well, if you let him get through the last line of defense, then it's just a 50-50 win. Not asking him to have the best goaltenders in the world, but that does have to be upgraded as well. We can talk about that on Wednesday with some names. But Stevie Y, man, this is it. Because next year, there are no excuses. You are squarely on the hot seat.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. James, anything to add?
Yes, I'm glad you brought it up because anytime I criticize Steve Eiserman, I get blasted online. But in my opinion, I have stated for almost a year and a half now, if in this season, not next or anything else, in my opinion, this season, if we do not make playoffs, I would like a change at the GM spot. I don't know any other sport or any other city that will hire a new GM and give them 6 years of no playoffs and let them keep their job. Like you said, he got it done, multiple Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay. I know he came into an absolute terrible situation left behind by Ken Holland, but it's year 6, man. I mean, we still have no defense. We do have some goalies in the pipeline, but obviously they're not here yet. So I want to talk about this team, this playoff run, and he let us down. There's no other way around that right now.
All right. Anything to add to that, Brad?
He's completely right. I'm willing to give Eiserman another year, and that's it. I mean that it's just plain and simple. It is paramount. Again, it is paramount to get your stars, and these are stars. Larkin, Raymond, Insider, they got to get a taste. It is way past due. They have been in our organization, Larkin longer, but Sider and Raymond have been playing at a high level now for a few years. They go by another year without playoff taste. I don't know, but Eiserman, get it done. It's not popular. You're right, James. It's not popular to say, how dare you speak of the holy Steve Eiserman. Well, you know what? We'll remember you as a hell of a player. We don't need, we don't think you're a great GM right now. At least I don't, and you don't. But hey, we're gonna get killed on social media for this. But
Yeah.
hey, feelings are for the bedroom. And Eiserman, that's it. I'm done. He doesn't get it done next year. I'm out.
Awesome. Awesome discussion, guys, on the Red Wings.